Where's my box? My scream echoed through the empty house. I ran from room to room, tearing open packing tape and scattering crumpled wrapping paper across the floor. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. That box wasn't just a box. Inside was everything that tied me to my past. My mother's gold chain, old letters from my grandmother, important family documents we had collected for years, and jewelry I had been saving for my daughter. The movers had just finished unloading. In the living room, towers of boxes were stacked with black marker labels. Kitchen, bathroom, books. I stood among the chaos and realized the most important box was gone. Are you sure you unloaded everything? I asked, my voice trembling. Of course, ma'am, one of the guys replied, wiping his forehead as he came down the stairs. Everything from the truck is inside. I rushed to the back of the van. The doors were still wide open, but it was empty. Not a single bag, not a single package. Just dust and the heavy smell of sweat. It has to be here, I shouted, trying to explain. The box was marked with red marker. I watched you load it myself. One of the workers shrugged. Maybe you labeled it wrong. We've got dozens of boxes, you know how it is. I dropped to my knees right there on the porch, trying to replay every step in my mind. That morning, I had handed the box to them myself. I had seen them put it on the dolly, and yet it was gone. Confusion swept over me. I darted from the bedroom to the kitchen, ripping open one box after another. Plates, towels, books, even an old hairdryer I'd forgotten about. But not the one thing that mattered most. Are you absolutely sure nothing's left in the truck? My voice cracked with desperation. We checked everything, the second mover said flatly. Nothing extra in there. Maybe you left it in your old place? The word stung like a slap. Me? Forget it. That box had documents. Jewelry. I was holding it in my hands this morning. Neighbors who had been watching the unloading started to slow their steps. A few people shot curious looks toward my yard. I felt cornered, like I was already being judged for misplacing my own valuables. I dashed inside, nearly dropping my phone as I dialed the moving company. My fingers shook. The voice on the other end was flat, robotic, like every call center operator I'd ever dreaded. Thank you for calling. Can you confirm your order number? My box is missing. I screamed. A box with valuables. It's gone. Your guys swear everything was delivered, but the box isn't here. Silence. Then the monotone reply. We'll look into it and contact you later. Later. My voice broke into hysteria. That box had my mother's jewelry and family documents. You need to check now. But the operator just repeated the same words. Please file a complaint. We'll investigate. I hung up and collapsed onto a chair. Images of my mother's gold chain filled my mind. My grandmother's letters, smelling of old paper and ink. All of it vanished. As if a piece of my life had been ripped away along with that box. The movers were packing up to leave. I jumped up, blocking their way. You're not going anywhere until we find that box. They exchanged looks, irritation flashing in their eyes. We did our job. Whatever's missing isn't our fault. Their words landed like a verdict. To them, it was just another delivery out of hundreds. To me, it was a wound straight to the heart. Tears threatened, but I forced them back. Another feeling rose up inside me. Despair mixed with anger. I wasn't going to give up. And yet, in that moment, I felt utterly powerless. Standing in a maze of boxes, in a new house that didn't feel like home, I had no idea where to start, to search for what was lost, or to fight for it. By evening, the company finally called back. We've opened a ticket. No apology. No urgency. Just a case number that sounded like a parking receipt. The manager's voice was syrupy and hollow. We'll interview the crew and audit the truck. Please allow 7 to 10 business days. 7 to 10 days? My pass was missing today. I drove back to the old place with the sunset bleeding over the rooftops. The super let me in. Empty rooms echo on every step. I checked closets, cabinets, the basement cage, even the stairwell landing where I'd set boxes to catch my breath. Nothing. On my way out, a neighbor waved me down. She'd watched the loading that morning. You had a small box with a red label, right? I saw them wheel it up the ramp. My throat tightened. Would you text me that? She did, adding the timestamp from her ring cam. At home I tore open the paperwork the foreman had made me sign while the truck idled. Bill of lading, inventory sheet. Initials next to vague descriptions like, small box, bedroom. In the margin, PBO, packed by owner, and a neat little clause about carrier liability limited to $0.60 per pound unless increased valuation is declared. 60 cents a pound. So my mother's chain, my grandmother's letters, my daughter's future, priced like scrap metal. Still, there it was in black and white. They'd taken custody of my things. If a box disappears between point A and point B, it doesn't just evaporate. The manager called again the next morning. Rehearsed sadness in every syllable. The crew confirms full delivery. Perhaps the box was mislabeled and is in another room. I had already opened every room. I said so. Then you'll want to submit a formal claim, she replied, tone turning bureaucratic. Our investigation window is up to 90 days. 90 days felt like a threat. I turned my panic into tasks. I photographed every room, every unpacked box, the empty truck bay I'd insisted they let me see. I snapped the license plate, the DOT number on the door, the names on their uniforms. I made a timeline, 7:45 a.m. Box loaded, neighbor's text plus ring time, 11:32 a.m. Crew breaks for lunch, 1:10 p.m. First box into the new house, 2:05 p.m. I ask about the red-labeled box, 2:18 p.m. Nothing left on the truck. I printed the emails, the call log, the manager's ticket number, and spread everything across the dining table like a crime board. While the kettle boiled, I found the last photo I had of the ring, the one I'd promised my daughter when she turned 16, on my mother's hand, sun catching the stone in our old kitchen. I added it to the folder, then the appraisal we'd done years ago for insurance when Mom was still alive. I printed my grandmother's scanned letters, the ones I'd carefully boxed so the paper wouldn't crumble. My eyes burned, but I kept moving. I filed a police report. The officer took it seriously, asked for the mover's info, the contract, the timeline. He gave me an incident number, and told me to send video or witness statements if I had them. I emailed everything before I lost nerve. 10 minutes later, I sent the case number to the manager. She replied with a template. Thank you, we will note the report in your claim. By afternoon the foreman texted me from a number I didn't know. We don't steal. I stared at the screen. I hadn't used the word steal. I'd said missing. The difference slammed into me. I typed, deleted, retyped, and finally sent one line. Please send your internal inventory photos from the loading. No answer. That night my husband found me sitting on the floor, surrounded by packing paper, confetti, and open boxes. He knelt. We're going to fix this, he said, and I wanted to believe him. But some things don't get fixed, they get fought for. We drafted a demand letter right there on the kitchen island. To Moving Co., on date, your crew accepted custody of a red-labeled small box, bedroom, containing jewelry, documents, and family keepsakes. The box is missing upon delivery. Attached are the bill of lading, inventory, loading witness statement, and photo evidence. Demand: reimbursement of declared value based on attached appraisal for jewelry plus replacement value for documents/keepsakes where available, or immediate recovery if located. If unresolved within 10 days, we will file in small claims court and report to the state regulator and BBB. I signed it with a hard, shaky line. We sent it certified mail and by email. Then I opened the court's website and read everything. Filing fee, service options, how to list a business's registered agent, how to present evidence without a lawyer. It felt like learning a new language at 2 in the morning. Terrifying, mechanical, empowering. The company's claims portal finally let me in. It asked me to assign a dollar figure to a wedding ring, and to a stack of handwritten letters that smelled like the attic of my childhood. It wanted proof of purchase for things inherited before I was born. I uploaded the appraisal, the police report, the neighbor's text, photos of the jewelry box that now held air. For letters, I wrote, non-replaceable. The form blinked, confused, and demanded numbers anyway. I gave it a number, then hated the number for existing. On day 3, the manager sent a new email. We have interviewed the crew. They deny any knowledge of a red-labeled valuables box. We are escalating to logistics to review GPS and warehouse video. Warehouse? My stomach dropped. You never said the truck made a stop. She replied, Standard lunch and fuel breaks. My hand shook again. At least now there was a route to subpoena if it came to that. I watched the sun go down behind unfamiliar roofs and felt the house change temperature with the night. Somewhere between two addresses, a small box had been swallowed by the system, or by someone in it. Either way, it wasn't coming back by kindness. I closed the laptop and slid the folder into my bag. If the company needed 90 days, the court would get 10. I wasn't waiting for mercy. I was building a case. The courthouse hallway buzzed with voices. People clutched folders, envelopes, and manila files, each carrying their own story, their own pain. I sat on the hard wooden bench, pressing my case folder against my chest. My hands trembled. My husband placed his hand over mine, silent, steady, grounding me. When our case was called, the air grew heavy. The judge, a woman in her 60s with a sharp, steady gaze, asked me to state my name and the purpose of my claim. I rose. My voice quivered, but I forced it steady. Your Honor, I filed a claim against Moving Co. They accepted custody of a box clearly marked with a red label. Upon delivery, the box was missing. Inside were jewelry, documents, and family heirlooms. The company refuses to accept responsibility. I handed her the folder. Photos of the loading process, the neighbor's text, the police report, the demand letter, every piece of evidence I had. She flipped through in silence, pausing when she reached the photo of the red-labeled box. Let's hear from the defendant, she said. The company's representative stood. A young man in a crisp suit, his voice smooth, rehearsed. Your Honor, the contract is clear. Liability is limited to 60 cents per pound, unless the customer declares higher value. She did not. Furthermore, our employees maintain they delivered all boxes. It's possible she misplaced it at her old residence. The words hit me like a shock. I handed that box to your crew myself. I blurted louder than I meant. I have a witness. I have video proof. The judge raised her hand to silence us. She turned to the representative. Do you have any internal photos or records proving that all boxes were delivered? He hesitated. No, Your Honor. The courtroom went still. My heart pounded in my ears. The judge leaned forward, her tone crisp. The plaintiff has provided credible testimony, supporting evidence, and a corroborating witness. The defendant has failed to produce records disproving her claim. Therefore, the court awards the plaintiff $4,000 in compensation plus court costs. My hand shot to my mouth. Tears blurred my vision. My husband pulled me close, and for the first time in weeks I felt a weight lift. Justice, maybe not complete but real. Outside, the cold air cut my cheeks as we stepped into daylight. The box was still gone. My mother's chain, my grandmother's letters, those small fragments of memory, none of it would return. But I had stood up and I had won. That's the truth of small claims court. It doesn't give back what's gone, but it gives you a voice, a chance to be heard, a measure of accountability. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need thousands of dollars. You need your story, your evidence, and your determination. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Silence helps no one. Companies count on us to give up, to swallow our losses. But even when you feel small, even when you're just one person against a business with lawyers and contracts, you still have rights. And if you fight, you just might win. So let me ask you, if it were your box, your heirlooms, your memories on the line, would you have fought? Or would you have let it go? And do you believe $4,000 can ever replace the priceless weight of family history?